Hello there, this is Dr. Craig Haynes speaking, and my students call me Dr. Dell. And what I want to do on this video is I want to talk to students, teachers, and parents about what would be involved if you were to join the new Dr. Dell's STEM Math Club. Now, this is a brand new club that we're just starting. It's a 21st century club. I couldn't have done this even a few years ago, frankly. It's brand new. And I did a video of about a 6-minute video you can watch where I talked to the school leaders about the benefits of this club. And so you can watch that and download this PDF and read it with the other video if you want to. But what I want to do now is I want to get into the nitty gritty of it, of just what's involved if you do join this club, what you're going to get out of it. So you go to STEMmathmadeeasy.org, and this would be the homepage of it. This is a not-for-profit organization, and you go down and click on Dr. Dell STEM Math Club, and you'll start learning all about it. Now, the first thing I did was talk to the leaders of the school to see if you want to start a club, and that was the video I talked to you about. It's about a 6-minute video, and then I have 2 other videos. I have the one I'm doing right now for you, and then I have one for everyone. And the for everyone video, by the way, I'll tell you more later, it's all about STEM math, the full story, which is quite a long, involved, interesting story that very few people know. But what's going to happen if you join this club? Well, I'm assuming now that you are a student, you might be a teacher, could be whoever wants to join the club. What are you going to learn? Well, you're going to learn STEM math that's needed for science and engineering, utilizing a 21st century math tool. It's called Wolfram Alpha, introduced in 2009. Now, you may know about it, you may not. Wolfram Alpha, if you have an iPhone and use Siri, Siri's based on that. Wolfram Alpha is this fantastic tool. When it came out in 2009, I couldn't believe it. And even today, I find it just unbelievable. It's almost like a miracle tool. And so what's going to happen is to supplement the math programs you're now taking at your school, which I'm sure are very good math programs. I'm sure your school's doing a good job. I certainly hope it is. But this will be a supplement to it. And this is really it's a 6-tier program. I'll be telling you a little bit more about in a moment, that has all this information in it. But what you're going to be learning, now you probably already know how to use a scientific calculator. And if you don't, there'll be training in it to review to do that. If you don't, if you're a beginning STEM student, this might be something you want to learn. And then I teach some algebra, geometry, and trig. And I do this in a practical way. You probably already know this. So as a club member, this will be here for you to review, and I'll show you in a minute what those topics are in what we call a Tier 6 program. Then we're going to be getting into STEM math in a more advanced way, and I'm going to teach you complex numbers the way it's done in schools today. I taught in engineering schools, and this is the way we used to teach it when students were about a sophomore or junior in school, and it can be done today in high school. It's very easy, actually, thanks to the modern technologies. Then I'm going to go through pre-calculus. And again, this is algebra, geometry, and trig at a much more advanced level. I'm going to use Wolfram Alpha. And now this is when things just get fantastic. Then we're going to do differential calculus. There's 2 parts to calculus. Differential calculus with Wolfram Alpha. That's usually called Calculus 1 in most schools. Integral calculus with Wolfram Alpha. That's usually called Calculus 2. And this, by the way, is the course that back when it used to be done manually, would cause a lot of trouble for many students. In fact, a lot of students would drop out of school because of it. And then differential equations, which is never taught in high school today because it's too difficult manually. With Wolfram Alpha, it's easy. In fact, all these subjects now become easy. Many of these subjects on a scale of 1 to 10, when you do it the manual way, are about an 8, some of them. Now with Wolfram Alpha, they're down to a 2. Wolfram Alpha is easy and fun to use, and you're going to absolutely love it. Scientists particularly love it, scientists and engineers, because math is a tool. It's a universal tool that is used in science and engineering. All of these subjects, you have to master all these subjects if you're going to study science and engineering, because this is the universal language that's used for all those subjects, whether it's electrical engineering or mechanical engineering or physics or chemistry or whatever. Now, if you join this club, what are going to be your benefits? Well, there's 6 tiers I'm going to tell you a little more about in a moment. And when you finish tier 5, that's calculus. And you'll do that very quick and easy with this Wolfram Alpha tool. Then tier 6 is differential equations. And that, if you finish these two, you're going to be so much better prepared to go to a school like, say, MIT, or I'm from Indiana, Purdue, wherever, any good school, Rose-Hulman, wherever. You're going to be better prepared than students that don't know this tool. It'll be obvious to you. In fact, there really aren't any current schools today that I know of that are teaching this 21st century STEM math with Wolfram Alpha. And I'm going to show you the 6-tier syllabus in a moment, and you're going to have a PDF copy you can download. We don't have any math textbooks today that do this. There's no online program to do this. This is all new stuff. It's 21st century. It started in 2009. And of course, if you're a club member, you're going to be able to have activities with your club. I'm assuming that your club leaders and all your participants will do things. You get together, compare problems, do this, do that. I mean, there's so many things you can do, but with Wolfram Alpha, it's just going to be so much fun and so much easier. Your school is going to provide coaches and leaders. I'm assuming there'll be at least one teacher that'll be heading up the club, and probably one or more students helping lead too, but you can all participate. And by the way, older students can help younger students. You might have some students come into this club that are 8th graders. And so they're going to be studying some of the more basic things along with the curriculum they're taking. And then you may have juniors and seniors that have already been through your math program, and now this is going to supplement it. In fact, if you're a junior or senior and you're getting ready to go to a STEM school, this is phenomenal for you. This is something you really, really desperately need. So when you join a club, your membership will be an enrollment in what I call the 6-tier online program, which I'll give you the details in a moment. And we sell it for $597. We have a lot of homeschool students that use this program. And now if you use the program as a student, I have you go through every lesson, step by step, lesson by lesson by lesson. You're going to have access to it just to jump around in it, because you're going to know a lot of this already. This is a supplement to what you're already learning. I'm assuming that your school has a pretty good math program and you've learned a lot of math already. Well, you don't have to relearn that, but the math you don't know is what you're going to be learning, particularly the math with Wolfram Alpha. Now, there's printable notes that go with these 6-tier programs, and you're going to get PDFs with those, so you'll have the notes that go with it, and I'll describe it in a moment, a little more. There's also a new book I've written called Dr. Dell's Golden Rule Math for STEM Students. That's math the way I would want to be taught today if I were a student, knowing what I know. That's called a golden rule, do unto others. And you can go to Amazon, of course, and you can buy this book for $9.99 or get a Kindle version of it, or you're also going to be able to get it for free as a PDF copy when you join this. So you'll get a free copy of it. Now, this is the table of contents of it. It starts out, it talks about STEM math in a nutshell. It tells you what's in all 6 of these tiers. This is what you're going to be learning today. And you're going to be particularly interested in tiers 4, 5, and 6. It talks about spike pedagogy, which is what we use when I teach it to students. There's something called the supercomputer, and you're going to be given a $100 discount to buy one. It's a fantastic thing, and you'll learn about it later. I'm not going to talk about it now. In chapter 10, I talk about STEM math, the full story. Now, this is the longest chapter, and it's about 1/4 of the book, 16 pages. I have a video on that below this one where I actually go over this in a video. So you can read the chapter or you can watch the video, whichever you prefer. And that's what's going to happen when you take it. Now, I mentioned this 6-tier program. Well, what is it? Well, Triad Math Inc. is a company that I founded and the CEO of, and it runs this, it sells this program, and you can go to Triad Math and find out about it. But the program I'm getting ready to tell you about, if you bought the full program as a student, we have homeschool students doing this all the time, it's $597 for the whole 6 tiers. Of course, some people start out and they just buy tier 1 and then tier 2 and so on. Well, in tier 1, it teaches you how to use a scientific calculator, the TI-30XA. Now, you probably already know how to use a scientific calculator. I hope you do. If you don't, you're probably going to go through this. You can do whatever you want, jump around, learn what you want. Most students, when they first learn to use a scientific calculator, are thrilled by it. And particularly students that have struggled with math and don't like to do arithmetic. I have a PhD in math, theoretical math. I've taught math at all levels. I hate to do arithmetic. I hate manual techniques. And they haven't helped me understand anything. They're just difficult, and I'm error prone and so on. Calculator changed everything. And then I do a little pre-algebra. Again, this is all stuff you know. This is a review of what you should have learned if you're very far in math. And then tier 2 is practical algebra, which is only 10 lessons, practical geometry, which is 9 lessons, and practical trigonometry, which is 7 lessons. Now, my students take this in one semester. It is a phenomenal thing, and this gets you ready for the military or an apprentice program. If you're going into a technical field, not engineering and science, but just a technical field, technology, this is it. And there may be things in here that you know most of this stuff already from your school, depending on how far you are. And if not, you'll be able to learn it. You can go in and jump around and learn what you want to learn. Now, Tier 3 is designed to get students ready for the SAT. Think of this as SAT prep. And I use a book for the first, I use notes on almost everything, but I use a book called Pre-Calculus Mathematics in a Nutshell by Dr. George Simmons. And I talk about it other places. Wow, what a great, wonderful teacher he is. In fact, in the 41-minute video, the full story, I'll tell you all about George Simmons and why this is a great book. And I use it for some of the topics. It was written about 1988. And then there's SAT and ACT prep. Now you might say, okay, if I go, students ask me, I go through Tier 3 and I'm ready for the SAT, I get a good score on the SAT or the ACT. Boy, am I ready to go for STEM? And the answer, no, not even close. Now in Tier 4, this is for STEM students. This is for people that want to go into science and engineering. I start off and I do some geometry, and then I get into algebra. And look here, in A5, now we're in Tier 4, in A5, Introduction to Wolfram Alpha. And now I start using Wolfram Alpha from this point forward. Conic sections. If you study conic sections with manual tools, you probably understand ellipses and hyperbolas and parabolas. When I use Wolfram Alpha to teach this, and by the way, every one of these lessons has a tutorial video and notes. That's why you're going to get the PDF notes and exercises. The tutorial videos are delivered off of Amazon Web Services. You'll have those. You're getting that as part of the 6-tier program. So every one of these, if you want to learn about ellipses, you watch my tutorial video with the notes, do the exercises using Wolfram Alpha. When I actually taught this, prepared this with Wolfram Alpha, and I've probably taught conic sections 20 times at least in my life. Mostly I've taught advanced math when I was a professor, but this is, professors call this elementary math, it's not. But anyway, when I did this with Wolfram Alpha, I learned it better than I ever knew it, even though I probably taught it 20 times manually. And ditto for all of this, functions, graphs, polynomials, logarithms, and so on. And this is algebra now in, sometimes it's called pre-calculus, but with Wolfram Alpha, it's a whole different ballgame. Trigonometry now, in depth now, that you need for STEM. Wolfram Alpha makes it so much easier than I can even imagine. Now, trigonometry is not terribly difficult, probably, if it's well taught. Then I teach complex numbers. Now, this is something you need for science, and your school may have taught you this already, but if not, this will be great then for all of you to go through, your teachers and your students together, because to understand complex numbers, by the way, real numbers are real number line, complex numbers correspond to the plane. And in order to understand them, there's a wonderful equation that's the key to it. Richard Feynman, the great physicist, called it the most wonderful equation, important equation in mathematics, what he knew for quantum theory. It's called Euler's equation. And you may have heard of it. It's easy to understand. You'll understand it now, no problem. And then that is what makes complex numbers easy to understand. And I apply them to a couple of things, roots of unity and so on and so forth. Okay, now, special topics that you may or may not want to study. Again, Wolfram Alpha makes it so much easier. Now, in Tier 5, there's two kinds of calculus. The first one, calculus 1, is usually called differential calculus. Now, this was developed by our ancestors in the 1600s and 1700s, and they developed wonderful manual tools to use in differential calculus now to analyze functions. The Leibniz rule, that was one of the guys who invented calculus, Gottfried Leibniz, in the 1600s. There's the chain rule and so on. But what I do now, and it's not too hard manually for differential calculus, but it takes a lot of time to do the problem. Wolfram Alpha, just boom, it does it. I mean, it's going to blow your mind when you do it. It's so much easier now with Wolfram Alpha. Now, here's the biggie. Integral calculus, calculus 2, is called integral calculus. I will tell you right now, most of you haven't had it yet because most high schools don't get that far. They only go differential calculus. Integral calculus is critical for science and engineering. You got to know it. And it involves something called techniques of integration, finding what are called antiderivatives to apply what's called the fundamental theorem of calculus. Manually, this flunked more kids out of engineering school when I taught in engineering school than anything else. This is a barrier. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 8 difficulty. And a lot of students just give up on it, and for good reason. When I studied it as a student, I struggled with it. I managed to get it through it. After all, if you're going to become an engineer, you got to get through it. And you talk to most engineers today and ask them what their experience was going through integral calculus. Anybody that's in science and engineering, medical doctors have to take this for pre-med sometimes. Ask a medical doctor how they like integral calculus. I can tell you, most of them say, oh, that was hard. Well, it's easy now. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 2. Wolfram Alpha, just boom. And by the way, it lets you do lots of problems that you can't do manually. That's an amazing thing too. So integral calculus. Now, the workhorse of science and engineering is called differential equation. You solved algebraic equations, you know the solution is numbers. For differential equations, the solution is a function. Then you analyze it with calculus. If calculus is to analyze functions, differential equation creates functions. Well, this is the next thing you learn after integral calculus. You learn differential equation, and this is the workhorse. You can't do STEM. You can't do science and engineering without differential equation. You got to have them. Well, they're even more difficult than integral calculus. It's a kind of an extension of it, and manually, it's not easy. In fact, a lot of professors in science and engineering, when I taught engineering school, come to the math professor. How do we solve this? How do we do this? And then the math professor maybe could do it, sometimes not. Well, guess what? Wolfram Alpha does it, boom, automatically. And if you want to know how they did it, if it's possible manually, they'll show you. There's step by step. If you want to know. I'm not sure why you'd want to know, but maybe you would. So this is the 6 tiers you have access to as a member of the club. And so you need to know that. And then, as I think I mentioned to you, I've written this book, Golden Rule Math for STEM Math Students, and you're going to get a free copy of it. And then chapter 10 is the full story. I want to tell you how STEM math has evolved historically. And I start, guess what? The greatest mathematician of antiquity in the Greeks world was Archimedes. Then we come forward, Leibniz, his disciple Euler, and then we move up, and then there's a great story on infinitesimals you've got to learn. And then a great mathematician named Abraham Robinson in 1966. You'll learn about that in this full story. And I do that on the next video if you want to watch the video or read the book. And the book's going to be free. Like I told you, you're going to get a PDF of it. So that's what this is about. And now it's going to cost you $50 to become a member. The school gets to join at no charge to set up the club. And indeed, we're going to give a free membership to the club leaders, 2 of them, teacher and a student. So if you're watching this and you're a student and they don't have a club yet, you might go to a teacher and say, hey, you be the leader and I'll be the student leader, and so on. And then you get it for free, but it's a $50 fee. It's an annual fee. Every year you can renew it for $50. And oh my golly, the benefits are phenomenal. And this covers the cost we have. We're delivering all these videos from Amazon Web Services. And by the way, I told you about the notes. Well, the notes are, I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. The notes are PDFs for free you get, but it just turned out about a year ago, I found out that I have a printer now that will print out these notes. This is tier 4. This is 500 pages of notes. Now, it's not a textbook. It's notes and exercises that go with the tutorial videos. That's very important. You watch a video and you've got the notes to be filling in while you're watching the video. And you can, it's self-paced. You watch it on your own schedule. You can watch it, start it, stop it, jump around in it, come back to it. You're in control. It's better than having me as a live tutor, frankly, because as a live tutor, we're on a schedule. Well, now you're on your own schedule with the tutorial videos. And that, but you need the notes and the exercises. You really learn by doing the exercises. I think of math as a sport. And you learn by doing it. You learn by playing it, by practicing it. And you make lots of mistakes. That's normal. I mean, I have a PhD in math, and I probably made more mistakes than any of you are ever going to make. Because when you learn math, you make lots of mistakes. You learn from them and go on. Well, anyway, here's this book, 500-page book. And you can get a copy of it from my printer for about $17. And as a club member, I have this for all the tiers. Here's the tier 5 book for calculus. It's not as expensive because the book's cheaper because it's less pages. This book's 500 pages. And for my printer, you can get it for $17. You can get it from me cheaper. As a club member, I can actually buy these wholesale and resell them to you. I don't know exact numbers yet, but it's going to be amazingly less expensive. Guess who my printer is that does this when you order one? Amazon. Amazon. In fact, you can go on Amazon and buy these books directly, and that's fine. And then I can sell them to you. I can buy them wholesale from Amazon and sell them to you for a little bit cheaper, as I would as a club member. So the bottom line of it is this club will be life. If you are even remotely interested in science and engineering and technology and math, this will revolutionize your life. It will transform your life. I had similar experiences. I had my biography. If you go back and look under the videos, when I got my math bio, I was rescued by 3 fantastic teachers in my life. One when I was very young, and then 2 when I was in high school. And if I hadn't been for those teachers, I would never gone into math. I never would have done what I've done. And math, by the way, is open sesame. You'll be able to do so many things if you learn math. It's unbelievable. And I've had a fantastic life, in my opinion. I'm very pleased, wonderful. I won't get into all the things I've done in my life, but I did lots of things. And I was a professor for many years, but I've also done many other things. And math has empowered me to do all these other things. And that's what it can do for you. I think this math club will be fantastic for your science teachers, your math teachers, your students, everybody in your school. It will just amplify what I'm sure you already have a good math program. That's great. This will amplify it, will supplement it. And if your school doesn't have one and you happen to be watching this video, go talk to them and say, let's start a club. And if you can't get your school to start a club and you want to be in a club, contact me directly and I'll find a club you can get into. There are some clubs. Anybody can start a club, by the way. A church could start a club. A Boy Scout troop could start a club. Anybody can, Boys and Girls Club could start a club. Anybody can start a club. But I think it's ideal for a school to. So you get your teachers involved, because then the teachers and the students can interact with each other in a wonderful way that's just so powerful and fun. And because the more you work with other people, the easier it is to learn. You're going to learn a lot on your own because it's all online. You have access to all of it. But when you talk to other people and challenge other people, and you try this problem, how'd you do this? Well, how'd you do that? Well, maybe there's a lesson that this other guy learned you haven't learned yet. Maybe you can learn it. Maybe you can teach them. Or maybe somebody, well, I don't quite understand it. Well, and you can. In fact, I love to teach math. I love to learn math. I love to teach math. That's what I've done all my life. Learn math, teach math. And you can do the same thing. And that, I think, is a real secret to success in STEM. So anyway, this is Dr. Dale. You can tell I'm excited about it. It's a brand new club. Could have done this even 2 or 3 years ago. And now we can do it. Wolfram Alpha has been around since 2009, but a lot of the technology we're using to do this now, we're using a whole plethora of technologies to make this possible at this price. I mean, my goodness, a few years ago to do anything like this would have cost hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. $50. Unbelievable. Okay. That's per student, of course. Okay. You have a great time. I hope you enjoyed this, this video. It's been my pleasure to give it to you. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to this and hopefully get you started. And if you're really interested in math, watch the other video, which is probably longer than this one, but it's the full story. And then you'll really know what it's all about. And I'm sure you'll join some club and it'll be wonderful for you going forward in your STEM career and your education. So this is Dr. Dale. Thanks for watching the video and best of wishes to you in your future. I'm sure that if you learn math the right way and get going, it'll be a wonderful future. So I will probably see you on many other videos in the future. Bye-bye.